everyone, so I got a new phone recently and this thing is slipperier than a wet bar of soap. So I made myself a little beaded wrist strap and I'm going to show you how I did it. For the example today, I'm going to be using 6/0 seed beads. I've got this pretty burgundy polyester thread, and as always, I've got my big eye needle. I'm also going to be using a little dab of super glue. I like to buy the nail glue because it's got this nice little applicator brush on it. And you're going to need a sharp pair of scissors and a ruler. I've measured out 6 strands to about 20 inches, and I'm going to tie them all together in a knot at the end. I'm splitting the threads into 2 sections, so that would be 2 groups of 3 threads. I've got a pin pushed into my work surface and I'm going to slide the knot above it so that I can use it as an anchor point. From here, we're going to either braid or twist our strands together. I'm using a 2-strand twist because I feel it's faster and it gives a more even result. I'm twisting each section by rolling my thumbs towards the right, and then I'm crossing the right section over the left section. And you keep repeating that movement over and over again. You roll your thumbs to the right, cross the right section over the left, roll your thumbs to the right, and cross the right section over the left. And if you keep your tension on both sections pretty even, you'll end up with a nice uniform twist. And every once in a while, I'm going to pull my fingers all the way down to the bottom of the thread so that I can untangle the sections from each other. We're going to keep going until we have a few inches of this twisted area. Then I'm going to form a loop with my twisted section and tie it all together. I'm making sure to pull the knot nice and snug. And you can see the original knot that I tied is just below the knot that we just tied. So I'm going to go ahead and snip that bit off pretty close to my larger knot. And then I'm going to put a little dab of super glue to make sure it can't come undone. I'm going to give that a second to dry, and I'm going to thread the other end onto my big eye needle. And from here, you're just going to start loading up beads and pulling them down to your knot. And keep doing that until you have about 10.5 inches worth of beaded thread. Once I have reached that 10.5 inch mark, I'm going to line the beginning of my beads up with the start of my ruler, and then I'm going to go back through the beads that start at about 1.25 inches. And that forms your beaded loop. You want to go back through the rest of the beads all the way up to the knot. And then you're going to want to pull all of the beads away from the knot by just about 1/4 inch. That way we will have enough room to make another knot to tie those free ends up. I'm going to snip the ends off pretty close to the knot and then add another little dab of super glue. You can use a crimp cover to conceal your little knot, but I don't have any on hand, so I'm just going to leave it as a nice tidy little knot. And there you have your cute little wrist strap. You can use many different sizes and types of beads to make these, just as long as the beads have a hole large enough to accommodate several lengths of thread. So this one I made with beads ranging from about 4mm to 8mm. Just remember that the bigger of beads you use, the larger your 2-strand twist loop is going to have to be to accommodate all the beads fitting through it. So here are a few examples where I used all 4mm bicone beads. And then here's a few more examples of using the 6/0 seed beads. And then I have an example of some amethyst, some glass pearls, and some 4mm rondelles. Now these amethyst beads had pretty small holes, so I ended up having to reduce the thread count from 6 down to 4. So I had just 2 groups of 2 to make my 2-strand twist with, and you can see that it's just a tiny little bit thinner than the other ones that we made. I've got all kinds of wood beads that are really great for these because wooden beads usually have pretty large holes. You can even get down to using like a 2mm delica shaped bead. And for those, just like the amethyst, you do have to reduce it down to 4 threads instead of 6. And I wouldn't go any smaller than that because you want to make sure that this strap is really secure, and it's already kind of a squeeze to fit 8 threads through there when you have to double up that one area. So you definitely have a lot of options as to what kind of beads you can put on this thing. I would just suggest that you don't pick any beads with sharp edges on them because they will eventually saw right through this thread. And that would be bad, we don't want that, so just pick nice smooth edged beads. And I'm going to show you how I installed the strap onto my phone case. This is not going to work for every phone case, but it will work for Samsung Galaxy phone cases. And you're just going to put the twisty side through the 2 holes for your cable ports, and then slip the beaded part through the twisty loop and pull nice and tight. This is just going to be a temporary measure for me because this does put quite a lot of pressure on this one small part of your phone case. So I ordered some of these little inserts that go in between your phone case and your phone, and this way it puts less stress on your phone case. And I'm going to show you how to install one real quick. So you take the case off of your phone, you put the insert inside, and then put the phone back in the case. And then to add your wrist strap, you do it similarly to when we added it to the case by running the loop through the ring and then the beaded section through that small loop. Pull it tight and it's definitely not going anywhere. And if you have a transparent case like this one, you can buy cute little inserts that have like pandas and flowers and stuff on there since you'll be able to see it through the case. My personal phone case is not transparent at all, so I got one of these metal inserts because I was afraid of the transparent material yellowing over time, and I really hate that. So you can see it is a nice sturdy strap that can very easily hold your phone. It's long enough to have a good range of movement when you're wearing it and still use the phone. And it does fit most, but if your hands are a little on the larger side, you can always make the beaded loop a little bigger to accommodate your hand. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you want to see more, please be sure to throw me a morsel of subscribe, a crumb of a like, or a tasty tidbit of a comment. And if you really want to support this channel, you can find all of the items that I feature here on my website, Xerelia.com. And I also have some patterns and bead kits over there too, so check it out. I will leave links in the description. Okay, bye!